Hi, and welcome to Roll the Dice. This is our first webisode discussing all things gaming. I am your host, David Houligard. This is JK and Keith. Today we'll be discussing virtual gaming, all things about virtual gaming. So this will be a roundtable discussion. Let's talk about it. Pros and cons. What is virtual gaming, first off? Not gaming around the table, using computer interface, using things like Foundation or Roll20 to host the gaming table, being able to interact with each other via video or audio, as opposed to sitting around the table and
I have misgivings about it.
You do?
I did.
Well, go ahead. What are your misgivings?
Well, prior to COVID,
Right.
I only ever did it like here on our table,
Mhm.
right, or wherever. And I saw the online things like Roll20 before then, and I'm just like, well, that's sort of cool, but who would want it? Because when you play in person, you're interacting with people, you're seeing their emotions, you're hearing them clearly, you don't have all the technical difficulties.
Right.
And, part of the creativity of role-playing, I think, is, just drawing maps and rolling dice physically and all of that. And
Right.
so I'm like, that's cool, but nah, I'll just play at the table. And then COVID hit.
Well, about 7 years ago is when I first looked into Roll20, and that was because I had some friends in Washington who wanted to play. They'd been playing in my annual Halloween dungeon games, and but we just can't. They can't drive 2 or 3 hours to come down here for a game session and go away. So I thought, well, let's look into it, and we tried it for a couple of days and just kind of faded away. We just didn't.
Well, why did it fade away?
Because it was a little cumbersome to use at first, and because we missed being with each other and that, and the lack of commitment to it. When you're going to go to somebody's house, there's a little bit more commitment, I think.
Yeah.
You
You show up ready to go.
Yeah, and so there's more buy-in, I guess. Also, I always made dinner for folks when they came over for the gaming thing. We'd have snacks.
You're just generous.
It's a big social event, right?
Yeah. Well, I think that's some of the best times I had with my friends when I was younger. We'd just order a pizza and,
Yeah.
just gobble pizza and play until we're sick of playing, and chips, and oh my God, I gained so much weight.
Right? Well, and stayed up for the entire weekend,
Yeah.
playing. Yeah, those are the days. I mean, I've been gaming for 42 years, and one of the things that I really enjoyed as a collector is collecting different types of role-playing games, but also collecting miniatures and terrain pieces
It's
and making
hard to
terrain
find
pieces.
someone with a collection like yours.
How
many games do you have now?
Over 210 different role-playing systems.
See, some people call that hoarding.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I can see that. I can see that. I think my wife can see that. But it's all the accoutrement to go with it. The terrain pieces. I've gotten rid of so much terrain. I could have filled this table with hills and valleys and stuff. Because I wasn't using it anymore. The gaming group, we started meeting instead of 2 or 3 times a week, we're meeting once a week, and then we're meeting only for 2 or 3 hours instead of 5 or 6 hours, and
It takes time to set all that up.
It does. I mean, I would generally put about 2 hours of work in before anybody gets there for food, snacks, terrain setups, figuring out which miniatures we wanted to use for that, and I still like them. I've got some terrain that are dungeon pieces that are 3D ceramic. I can create a whole dungeon on here.
Yeah, I gotta admit, I'm a very tactile person.
Mm-hmm.
I like to throw dice. I like to play with miniatures.
Mm-hmm.
And oh, he's dead. Knock him over.
Yeah.
I like board games with lots of little pieces too. So you don't get that with the virtual experience.
No, you don't. Not at all. But on the other hand, I would go out and spend. Well, first it was $1.50. Now it's like $4 on one miniature, right?
Yeah.
And now that I've got a 3D printer, I can print them for like 26 cents. But I have to buy the model for $3 or $4.
As example.
That cost me about 40 cents to print.
Look how big that is.
I know. Yeah, it's huge. And I've got some that are bigger.
And how
My
much
printer
is
will
this?
print them, but That one there was a Ralph Partha Bowman that I bought in 87, 88.
Pewter.
No, lead. And that cost me about $3
Back then.
back then. Yeah.
So, yeah, it's definitely, if you can do a 3D printer, that's the way to go now for miniatures.
For when you're playing in person, right? But on the other hand, with Roll20, you can buy map packs that are pre-made with lighting and shadow and sound and everything else that you want to go with this thing, and you can buy token packs for $4, something like that. Now it adds up really quick because we all like to have a character that matches the paradigm in our head, right?
Yeah.
I want my dwarven warrior to have a particular look to him, so I can either go look through all things online and try and find that one lead figure, or lead figure. Look how old I am. That figure, or I could buy a map pack and search through all of them, and or a token pack, pick that one out and throw it on the board.
This gets to another thing about virtual gaming. The expectations, right? So when you're in person, the expectations are a lot lower. I mean, yeah, you might have lots of fancy miniatures, but really all you need is something to draw on.
Oh, sure.
A whiteboard, map squares like this,
Graph paper
that's
even.
erasable. I used to use graph paper sometimes, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So, but when you're in the virtual environment, it becomes almost like a video game. You expect it to be high quality. You expect the miniature or the tokens to look like what your character looks like, and you're getting into sound too, right? So you have your packs for sound, and that costs money. But now you got to figure out how to use the sound apps and all that stuff.
And the more complication you have, the more difficult it gets to start the game up, because you got to overcome all the technical difficulties. We're using Discord now for video and sound instead of Roll20.
Why?
Roll20 is great, but its video and sound gets bogged down pretty easily.
Yeah.
So if you have, like we have 7 players in our weekly game, that's a lot of video.
I remember the first few months we were doing it after COVID started, right?
It was rough.
How many times were we must have spent sometimes half an hour or more just saying, hey, can you hear me? Oh, Keith, we can't hear you now.
Yep.
Log back in.
COVID fixed that, right? Because we were invested in playing in a virtual environment by necessity. We could not, I mean, there were a few of us that were vaccinated, and we won't even get into the whole vaccine or unvaccinated, political drama. So, we have in our large
That was
group,
almost a year after it started.
Yeah.
That's true.
So,
That's true.
All that time in between, we didn't have any other choice. So it was either play virtual or risk passing the virus, and we didn't know anything about the virus.
And we wouldn't do that.
No,
Right. So
which
it was either Roll20 in game or not game. Right.
So,
I mean, my martial art community, we had to close the dojo down, but we kept our training going through Zoom. So that in itself helped reinforce Roll20 for gaming for me, because I can still reach my students, I can still teach them, although it's not perfect, but we can interact with each other. Same thing, it made me far more comfortable to do this with Roll20.
Yeah.
Especially when we switched to Discord and had higher quality video and audio.
so for those watching, we do Roll20 for the maps,
Yes.
and sometimes chat,
Yes.
and the dice rolling,
And character
Yes.
sheets.
and character
Character
sheets.
sheets.
Sometimes. But now we use Discord for video and audio chat,
Yep.
as well as messaging, because you have a RPG chat.
Yeah, we
channel.
usually use that just for posting links. So JK found some great artwork for a superhero thing about a jet that we wanted to use for our
A bunch of
superhero
us
group.
found them.
Yeah.
Well, right. So everyone's
So
posting
we're all
that in
posting
there.
it.
And we're still using the chat in Roll20 because they can whisper to the GM, and there's other things. There's a lot of capability that Roll20 has that we don't take advantage of.
Like what?
Oh, it's a long laundry list of things, all about APIs and different plugins that you can put that cause different things to happen. But in order to make all those happen, you have to type in like an exclamation point at, and then a command. And
It's almost like automation.
yeah, it is, but it's cumbersome. Not only then do I have to keep in mind everything about the game that I want to run, plus moderating the conversational flow through it, because it's easier to talk over each other because we have a little bit of latency and a little bit of lag.
We'll get to that one.
We'll get to that one, yeah. And I just lost my thought, so.
Well, one difficulty, I think, with Roll20, and we've been talking a lot about the cons of it, but I think another one would be lighting.
Yes.
You guys struggled with lighting.
So much in the beginning.
Yeah, well, thanks to Keith, we figured it out.
Dynamic lighting.
For the most part, dynamic lighting is what it's called, yeah, and all of them have it. There's other types of applications other than Roll20. Some of them do some things better, some things worse. Roll20 is kind of the big monster in the room, so it's got a lot of marketplace stuff. So you can get a lot of things to play with fairly cheaply. The other ones, however, one of them does lighting so much better. It's smooth, it's seamless.
Which one is that?
I can't remember the name of it right now. I wish I could. But there are 3 or 4 big platforms out there. But Roll20 is the monster in the room. It's the big one, and it's owned by a company that has a lot of money. So they put a lot of money into the development of this. So we're going to see greater things.
So there's a lot of cons, especially at the beginning.
There's a lot of cons at the beginning.
Getting used to it, getting connected, but what are the benefits?
Benefits 1, you can keep on gaming even if you're not there. Benefit 2, you can game with people who are not in your social sphere, not in your hemisphere. You know, they could be on the moon as long as they got a satellite connection. They could be playing with you.
We've got your brother.
Yep.
We got your brother in Chile.
Chile.
Yeah.
And we're in Oregon.
Yeah.
US.
And I've got customers in my professional game mastering service where I've got customers that are in Europe. I had one that was sniffing around one of my games from Asia. So, you know, it's then time frame comes into it, you know.
So that's a
Time
definite
difference.
benefit. And with in person, it's just local, right?
Right.
So now, and we have done hybrids.
We have, yeah.
That
That
messy.
was painful. Yeah,
Well,
that was a Halloween dungeon. We had
2 Halloween dungeons ago, yeah.
11, 12 players that time, I think.
That was a lot.
It was a lot because we had several people from Washington. We had
yeah.
So we were all lined up here on tables, and we all had laptops, right?
Right.
So that way we could be both virtual and in person, and those that were playing only virtually, we could still see and hear them more or
Here or
less.
use to put it on the big screen TV.
But we had to be
Yeah.
careful with microphones because you would get echoes from everyone else's microphones
Yeah.
on there. So
It's the social problem of everyone walking around looking at their phones and never interacting with each other. Even if they're 2 friends sitting in a room, they're both on their phones doing something else. And I was sitting back there behind 3 monitors. I couldn't see the group. I couldn't interact.
see you.
Yeah, it was
It's a monitor right in front of you.
It was weird, and it
I
was
took a picture of
cumbersome.
you.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, it's just like monitors.
Oh,
And
jeez.
I could sort of see the top of your head. I was sitting where you are,
Right.
and you were over here with the table and the monitors and all your books and stuff, and we were all lined up, and we had so much food.
Oh yeah, it was just
And-
tables and tables of food on the opposite end from where I was. I just like to say, you guys had a lot of food. I had whatever you guys would toss over the monitors at me.
So the hybrid model, I think, wasn't a very good exercise.
No,
No,
I think it could be done differently. And the way I would do it next time, one of our players is willing to donate an extra 45-inch screen TV, flat screen TV. We mount that,
Make a
on the
table
table,
out of it, yeah.
and then everyone around here can work on that aspect. But when you're playing remotely, everyone has to have a way to get to their character sheet and look through it. So one central monitor does not take care of that. Now, D&D Beyond has done something interesting. They have
So that's a third app we've started
That's a third app we've started using when we converted from Cypher System to D&D. Trying to play 5th edition and learn the nuances of the system and whatnot. They have their own D&D Beyond character management system, but somebody made an integrator into a VTT, or a virtual tabletop gaming reality. So Roll20 and D&D Beyond work seamlessly. There's a few hiccups. from the GM side, but I would like to see more of that being developed by game developers, because that works smooth.
Yeah.
Yeah, it works better than I thought it would be. You know, the interaction between different apps. I mean, we've recently started using Sirenscape. Is that what it's called?
Sirenscape,
For
yeah.
sound.
Which I am not going to continue that after the second.
Oh, you're not?
I'm not.
But it worked.
It does work, but you forgot to use it.
Well, all right. Yes, I forgot to use it because that's another app.
It won't work if you don't use it.
See, I had some office stuff going on. I had a party happening and whatnot, but
And then it disappeared.
and then it disappeared because the organization of their sound files is aggressively bad, and so trying to find what you want to find is difficult. Their FAQs, frankly, suck. So I am not putting in a recommendation for Sirenscape, but it's a cool idea. But another application, anything like that, has to be easy to use. And just trying to get everybody signed up to use it so they can hear it is one thing. And then if people have low bandwidth, now they're streaming an audio thing, plus they're streaming their video audio from Discord, and they're streaming Roll20.
Yeah.
It chews up bandwidth. I mean, we've got a couple of players that suffer from...
Just with Discord, and like one of our players is in a house with 8 people.
Yeah.
Yep.
So the
And plays in the
bandwidth
living
is getting sucked dry, and he's constantly having difficulties, right? So,
Yep.
and then another player just has a very basic laptop, right?
Right.
So,
Or a tablet.
Yeah.
People are trying to play this from a tablet, too.
well, you know, Glenn uses his phone for Discord,
Yes, he does. Yeah.
which is interesting.
I'm wondering if Dick does, too. I mean, matter of fact, I had a couple of my paying customers using their phone for Discord in audio. So, you know, it works. And Discord is a pretty decent platform, and they put a lot of work into making this kind of stuff seamless. There's also sound bots that you can use. I can't figure out how to configure them. Maybe I'm just
Sound
too
bots?
old.
That's
Yeah, they have
anything.
sound bots. Well, it's a bot is just an automated program within Discord that you can add to it that will then integrate other apps with sound, like oh come on, Pandora is the one I use, but the big one, Spotify. So Spotify works with this particular app or this particular bot. And supposedly I can create playlists and then play that music through Discord, and it comes out seamlessly.
Oh.
It's a lot more configuration. So now not only do I have to set up the maps ahead of time, get the dynamic lighting working, make sure that everyone's happy with the tokens that they have, make sure I've got all the necessary tokens that I need at the drop of a hat, you know, if things change, because I don't run just a straight module where I've got set pieces that I know are going to be there. I run a sandbox. So
Yeah, that's your that's your GMing style. It's
It
very
is.
open.
it is.
Which I like. That works great for me. I
Yeah.
like
Oh
that.
yeah.
But so okay, when it works seamlessly though, I think it's pretty impressive,
Okay.
right? The
Okay.
going virtual, because it's, you know, it's not quite a video game, but it has the, you know, the sound, the dynamic lighting, the tokens with the characters that you want. And I think you do pretty good at showing it. We should stream it sometimes, just playing.
Yeah, just playing it. Yeah, we'll do
So
that.
that people see that. And I think it's a good experience. Now here's a good question for you. If you're a beginning player, like Amy was,
Mm-hmm.
which is the better way to get involved, in person or virtual, or do you think it's
Oh, I
just a
think
matter of taste?
In person.
I'd go with in person, but honestly, I don't think it matters. What matters is the interaction that you have, and if you have video and audio, you know, you're not there, but you might as well be.
And
right?
that's the heart of role playing.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
about
Interaction.
between players.
Yes.
All this other stuff, you know, whether it's miniatures or it's the virtual tabletop or, you know, sound, whether that's all just
It's
what's the word?
superfluous.
Well, no, it's not superfluous, I think, but it's decor. It's
Oh, sure.
you know, it's, while it's useful, it's not the core of the core is the interaction between
Right.
players and their characters.
And for years, I ran games where I didn't use maps.
No maps?
No maps. I
Sorry,
just
what?
described everything. No maps. No maps, no figures.
D&D without maps?
Well, I ran a superheroes campaign for 3 years without maps.
Huh.
Just describing it. And that is an experience. I think every DM should do that at least 5 times. Because that is what's really going to test your mettle on creativity
It's
and whether or not.
storytelling.
Well, yes.
It's
and
collaborative storytelling. That's what role-playing
not
is.
necessarily. That depends on the system. Now, Cipher system that we use a lot by Monty Hook Games is a collaborative storytelling game. It's designed like that in the rules to be this way. So that one's more player-driven. D&D, on the other hand, is not. It is a linear combat system that they add role-playing to, and
But the players still make decisions, which
players
drive
still make
the
decisions.
action. So it's still collaborative
but they
storytelling.
don't create the environment.
They don't create the environment, right?
And that's the big
or
one.
modify the rules. And with Cipher, you can use an XP to change the outcome.
Yeah.
Right. Right. But not in D&D.
Well, and looking at it from a virtual tabletop side of things, when I'm describing a superhero flying around the corner of a building over the streets, zipping down to about 10 feet above the cars, zipping past a bank and a Starbucks, flipping over sideways, shooting photon beams from his hands to hit this monster that's just busted up through the concrete. Well, that's one thing. In the virtual tabletop thing, I have a street mapped out, I have a figure that kind of moves from here to here, and they see that he's turning a corner, and then there's a monster at the other end that they say they're going to shoot. So there's a big difference between those two descriptions of the exact same scene. One takes longer, and the DM has to do most of the talking.
Well, you do both. Though.
Oh, well, no, I talk a lot. Yes, I get that.
And that's the way to do it, right? You describe the superhero doing his thing, but on the tabletop, as you're describing it, at the end of it, you shoot, here's what the outcome, then you move the token over just to show where things ended.
Right.
It's
Well,
not
I
like
always,
we're moving the token as the action happens.
and I always try to sum up, what happened based off the roll that happens after the movement and everything else is done. I try to add, you didn't just hit him, I shoot him and hit him. No, the photon beams burn through his clothing and, chars part of his torso and blah, blah, blah. Now, in my paid D&D games, they don't appreciate that much.
Really?
Nope, if I take any liberty that modifies anything that they see from where their tokens are at, they get edgy.
Is this a virtual gaming con? Is that an issue of virtual gaming where an expectation is set?
It enhances it, I think. When you're sitting at a table with your friends around there, you can govern the emotional state of the group much better than you can over a virtual tabletop.
Yeah. So
I can guide my players into relaxing into the discussion. Like I had a situation the other night. They're swimming through underwater, and they're swimming through an 8-foot wide corridor in underwater caves, and there's a broader area over on the other side. They're trying to get through it, but these two monsters come in. Well, they could not get it through their heads that this is an 8-foot area that has outcroppings and coral and reeds or whatever underwater fauna, and that they couldn't both fit through there. They saw the token could go here to here to here, and that's as far as their creativity went. And when I tried to say you couldn't fit through there, there's just not enough room for it, he says, well, I can do it right here, look. And there was going to be an argument about this.
I see.
So
It's a limitation of the map in the virtual world.
but it sets a paradigm for the players to work in. That's the big thing. They see the map and they see that they can physically move things from here to here, and they're allowed to move diagonally. So why can't I just go here to
I
here to
guess
here?
when I'm playing even virtually, I'm relying more on your descriptions than I am on what I'm seeing on the map. But other people may not be the
No,
same,
no.
right? They see
Most
the
of
map and they want to say that's how it is.
Most that I've seen are not, and I see it more reflected in the D&D system and players than I do in other systems.
Huh.
And I don't know exactly why that is. But people forget that that D&D is a combat tactical system. That's what it was built for originally. And through its Dungeons and Dragons, and then AD, Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, and 3.0 and 3.5, it was still a tactical game that they added skills to. It's very different than a game designed to be role-playing first.
Very stats driven.
Very
Yes.
stats driven, very much. So,
It's one great thing about the Cypher system. There's much fewer stats that you do.
there's 16 pages of rules in a 400-page rule book. You know, it's great.
Yeah.
And
It is
easier
so
to
much
learn.
easier to run, easier to learn. Yeah.
As a GM and as a player.
And it's a freeing experience. But we'll cover Cypher System in another episode of Roll the Dice.
Right.
But the point I'm trying to make, though, is you can gauge the emotionality of the group and convince your players to play along with what you're presenting them easier in an in-person game than you can in virtual reality. There's that separation, that physical separation that I think has some value to it. What do you prefer? Do you prefer either way?
I prefer it in person for sure. It's a lot better for explaining what's going on. It's a lot easier to just see what's going on, understand, and then again with the descriptions being more prevalent than the maps.
Okay. And I had a thought for that, and it's gone now.
And I think as an author, right, I rely a lot on the storytelling aspect, and so I'm the same way.
Yeah.
I think it you know, the descriptions of things matter more to me than what you see on the board.
That's what brings it to life.
The board is symbols.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how I think of the board.
It's a board game.
Not as a video game.
Right? The only emotion you get out of playing chess is beating your opponent. Right? I don't really get a whole lot of emotional
Catharsis.
catharsis about playing chess with somebody else, right? That's that interaction, but it's a combative interaction, right? Role playing to me is a broad spectrum of emotions. I want to make people laugh. I want to make people cry, right? When somebody kills their friend in the episode, I want there to be an emotional.
Gotta bring that up.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, it's not like Iridian didn't just kill the child that she was trying to rescue the other day too. So
She resurrected him.
yeah,
And resurrected the one I killed.
Oh, no, that's right.
The
yes.
friend I killed.
That's
yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So but there's an emotionality to that, right?
Well,
There's another.
I guess it's resurrecting, isn't it?
There's raised dead and there's resurrection.
She pieced him back together.
Yeah.
And then we breathed life back in.
And that was all done virtual, right? That
It
was all
was,
virtual
yeah.
tabletop gaming. So you
And there was
create-
emotion to it.
Yeah.
That was a very emotional game.
Well, what was it Chris said? He says that was the best situation he's ever been
That's
in
Halloween
any of my
Dungeon.
games.
you
He's
know.
been,
Yeah.
yeah.
Last night he said in any game I've ever run.
Any game.
He said in any game I've ever run, he says that was the most impactful and awesome moment in gaming that he's ever had with me.
Wow.
That
Okay.
says a lot. And
Yeah.
that's the emotional thing, quality that I'm talking about generating at a table. And we were able to do it in a virtual environment.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
But it's harder to achieve that, I think.
It got bogged down by a lot of rules.
It did.
There was a lot of arguing about rules and other things.
Well, and any D&D game I've ever been in bogs down in rule argument.
Yeah.
It always does. The biggest bog down in virtual reality is people talking over each other.
Well,
Some of that's latency. Right?
yeah.
They think you're done. I do this all the time. I'm trying to describe something and guide the conversation to a different direction, but everybody else starts talking a half a second or 2 seconds beforehand. So
Definitely another con to virtual gaming.
yes,
So-
definitely a con.
With Discord, what happens, I've noticed, is that when someone's talking and someone else starts talking, it cuts off one of the people.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right? And then you get 2 or 3 people talking, and you're hearing snippets of everyone, and you're not really hearing what anyone else. Whereas when we're here and we're all talking over each other, we can still sort of hear what we're
Well,
saying.
right, and I
understand.
can throw the rat of doom at you people and say, "Stop it!" All right.
Where's the rat of doom?
There's the rat of
Show
doom. Yes,
the rat of
the
doom.
rat of doom.
Yes.
Yes. Quiet, you.
Why?
I don't know. I'm demonstrating the Rat of Doom.
The Rat of Doom is for when you
Soil.
sideline the game with your craziness.
Yeah, that's mostly what it's
Right.
used for.
And-
Or making fun of the DM.
Or royal lawyering.
There's a
Or
lot of
not
that.
giving a DM a cookie when you guys are all eating all the snacks down here all by yourself. You know,
Yeah, there's a lot of that.
there's a lot of that.
Well, you don't have
It's a
the Rat of Doom
multi-purpose
in
Rat of
virtual
Doom.
gaming.
No, I don't.
There's no way
Well,
to.
I have the ultimate screw you finger, right? You're disconnected.
No. You've never had to go that.
No, nor do I think I ever would. But it is a lot harder to control the flow in virtual tabletop gaming
So-
than it is in person.
All the time. We're like, sorry, Keith, what did you say? You cut off because someone was talking.
And
I hate it when that happens.
and it gets so
Or they
It's-
missed some critical point you were making.
exactly,
Right.
and it's hard to role play through that.
Mhm.
It is, because you get stopped.
Yep, and it feels like we have started to just do combat and kind of blah blah, a little bit of role playing, combat, blah
Right.
blah blah, and that's kind of what it's boiled down to at this point because the role playing is so hard through a virtual environment.
And yet, when we started up the superhero campaign, I thought, all right, this is going to be 90% combat and 10% role playing. We have flipped that over. It is 90% role playing and 10% combat, and I don't have to do shit.
Yep.
Right? I just set the scene, and sometimes I don't even have to do that. You know, Nito will usually start stuff off and just go, right? And you guys, last night, we should have been able to get so much farther.
You say
But
that every
every-
time.
Yeah, no, last
Everything.
night was special. Last night was really special. My notes were 1 page long, and we got halfway through it in 3.5 hours. And you know what was in that first page? They go and they hear that somebody died, or that something got stolen, investigate that for a few minutes. Then they find out that a professor died. They find out about the book and the missing page. They look at the missing page and go, okay, well, we need somebody else with this book. Talk to Padma. Okay, I've already got that connection in there, so that should be like seconds. They talk to Padma, they get a copy of the book, only this time Chris brought a new character in who has the copy of the book, so that should have been a couple seconds. Look at the book, go to the Honduras, go to the jungle, go to the temple, go to the blah, 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 right?
Right.
That's it. You guys made it through what I was expecting 20, maybe 40 minutes worth of stuff in 3.5 hours.
Yep.
Now, it was fun, right?
Well,
And-
part of the reason is because our characters have so much character.
Yeah,
Yes.
Right.
it took us an hour to get through 2 weeks.
But bringing this back to virtual tabletop gaming, we were able to accomplish some great role playing in a virtual environment.
Mm-hmm.
So it can be done,
And we've gotten used to doing it.
and maybe that's part of it. Maybe it's a
It took
large
months.
learning
Yeah.
curve.
But we eventually got used to, not cutting each other off and talking as much.
Yeah, I was gonna say we're trying, but
So,
and I'm guilty of it as much as everybody. And I already have a hard enough time not putting too much description in it and giving the players time to do their thing, at least according to some. So,
we have a way of sidelining the plot.
No.
oh yeah, yeah.
For instance, getting caught breaking into the property and getting arrested by the police. And
I had nothing even anywhere near that in my notes.
We didn't do anything wrong.
I mean, but that's the thing of gaming. Every GM worth their salt who's run more than 2 or 3 games are going to say that the characters are going to completely derail whatever you've got planned. You can make all the notes you want. You can have an entire book on the adventure, have it memorized, and they will screw it up. They will go and do something else, and it's wonderful.
a good character has a life of its own.
Yes, it does.
Can we get that for you?
Like when I make a character, he always has
I'll throw it
strengths and weaknesses, right? Every character has some major weakness.
Yeah.
Well, they're supposed to, but most players don't like weaknesses.
Yeah.
They like I win.
Mm-hmm.
Like a
Well,
paladin and
what-
WoW, they got an I win button.
There's an important point there, and that could be a whole other segment, right? But what makes it fun for the player, right?
Mhm. Not
for-
always fun for the group.
For me, I like having complex characters with weaknesses and strengths, and I like it when things go sideways for them and they have to get out of it.
Right.
Yeah.
And sometimes they could die.
That's one of the things I
Yes.
appreciate about Invisible Sun. They work it into the game system that bad things have to happen to you for you to be able to advance. However, Invisible Sun in a virtual environment broke. It is.
Oh, did you try it?
We tried a little bit. We were trying. Well, they have an application for Invisible Sun.
Oh yeah, we did.
Right? And you can do. Characters can go have side sessions on their own. And then they just check in with the DM. The DM throws a tarot card using the app, and says yes or no, that worked. So you could say, I want to break into this guy's library and steal one of his magic books. Will you help me? So you guys discuss it amongst yourself, have your little side adventure, and then you figure it out. Were you successful in getting this or not? DM only has to have a little bit to do with this. That's built in with the use of an app. That's virtual gaming as well, right? They're using a technological construct to play a scene. So there's many levels to VTT rather than just full immersion. But we went full Monty. You know, we're
Full Monty Cook.
full Monty Cook. Nice, nice. I hope he appreciates that joke at the end of the season. Buy Monty Cook games.
Another problem with the audio on doing virtual is background noise.
Yeah.
And, you know, it depends upon whether they're using their
Headphones.
with microphone, or just the laptop microphone. And like last night, we were saying, Chris, please mute your,
Yeah.
until he went to the headphones.
And then it was fine.
But prior to that, you know, background from his family and stuff in the house, it was making a lot of noise. So,
Same thing with Josh's. You know, his
Sometimes,
place
yeah.
gets really noisy.
so
So the technology itself is a big component of a successful VTT games. I literally had the thought at one point when we were just starting up of going out and buying everyone a headset mic.
really,
Yes, I was going to go dump like
well, that would have been good. Actually,
400 or
because-
$500 and just get everyone a like 5.1 surround sound headphone mic thing and say, here, everybody use this. I'm tired of trying to figure out who can and cannot talk or hear.
Yeah.
Right? And if I hadn't been a poor man, I would have done so.
Well,
Because when you can, as an IT guy, if you can equalize the playing field on what technology is used, that technology becomes more successful.
so this is a very important point. If you're going to play in a virtual environment, you should have the right setup. You
Yes.
should have ideally a headset, a microphone, or a room that you can close a door to,
Yes.
or a space without noise of some sort, or, you know, ideally major distractions or whatever. Of course, we all have distractions. So the kid's
Oh, yeah.
going to wander in and take, you know, you're at home, the washing machine's going to go, whatever. So
Oh, yeah. I mean,
Everyone
there's
says-
there's always going to be that, but that happens in tabletop gaming too. I have a child, right? Now, she's old enough now that she wouldn't come in and bother too much. Well, no, I can't say that because last night she wanted to make a character that had fart explosions. So, you know, and she comes bouncing in every once in a while because she doesn't get to see me that often. So she comes bouncing in and out of the game
And
session.
life happens. I mean, when we're
It
playing
does.
in person, you know, people are getting up and going to get a snack or, you know, whatever. They go to make a phone call, whatever. It happens. But if you're playing virtual, you should at least start on good footing, right? A
Yes.
good microphone, a good headset, or, you know, a computer that works,
Yeah.
a decent connection.
You keep
Yeah.
looking at me for all these things.
I'm not looking at you. I'm looking at the curtain next to you.
I'll look at you for the decent connection, but it's not your fault.
Oh no.
No, no. And you know, you got what you got to work with, you know,
Mhm.
so, and, you know, anything is better than nothing, but ideally you want to try to get all that set up before you start.
And that changes the price point of tabletop gaming. At
It
that
does.
point.
It
That's
goes.
true.
It goes way up, right?
Because instead of just, hey, you need some paper, some dice,
But-
it goes from that to you need a computer, you need a headset, you need all this stuff,
That's a
you
good
need the app.
point, yeah.
This goes to the concept that freedom is expensive, right?
Yeah.
Freedom has a cost. And one of the pieces of freedom that I'm talking about is you can get up, you're at home, you're not at somebody else's house, you can play in your pajamas, you can get up and walk away, go to your kitchen, get something from your fridge, cook some food when you need
Well,
it.
you
and
only
come
see
back.
me from here up.
Well, exactly. I mean, we all know that, we're dropping trowel at the thing here, but no. Pajamas. I wear pajamas all the time when I'm gaming now.
The comfort of playing from home, I think that's a good point.
Yeah.
And if I've been known to get up at times and go move the laundry.
Oh, yeah.
You know, you guys are off
We have the
fighting
freedom to
something.
do
My
it.
character is off to the side. I'm like, okay, I got a few minutes. I'm going to go get a snack and put the laundry in or whatever.
Yeah. We've got the freedom to do it, but that freedom comes at the cost of good bandwidth, decent computer, decent hardware. I invested in a professional level mic that you guys said made a huge difference in
It's
sound.
huge. Yeah.
I mean, I wish I could experience it. I don't know what that difference is.
Remember that ticking we were always talking about?
Yeah.
Completely gone.
Oh yeah, that's
Okay. Well, the ticking's gone. That's good.
Yeah,
I have
that's
no idea
annoying.
what the ticking was.
There's no, like, the background noise
There's
is...
like a vibration.
Yeah, it was something, I think it was because you were using your sound bar, and it was playing out of that,
Right.
and so it would be trying to pick up stuff on top of
And it's still doing that, but at least this microphone's more controllable.
Yeah.
Plus
I
you have
don't
that
want
little
to.
screen in front of it, right?
Possibly.
Right, and I don't want to wear a headset when I'm interacting with my players because I want them to see me and the emotionality that I can portray and the expressions and everything else. And if I'm trying to portray somebody, role play a particular NPC or something, and I've got headphones on my head, it takes them out of that. Right? It's like I'm looking at Dave at this. I'm not seeing the old man trying to sell me a petard, something like that. So. The look is a factor. I think it's a small factor, but it's a factor. And it's also a cost point.
Another technology thing for the GM.
Yeah.
How many screens did you have when you started?
2,
How many do you have now?
3. I need 4
Why?
because I've got the virtual tabletop open. I've got a couple of web pages open that say we're running it in D&D. So I've got D&D Beyond open. I've got 4 tabs of D&D Beyond open, so I can have my character, for NPCs, the monsters, and the rules all pulled up at the same time. Then I've got Cinescape open, and I've got to be able to see that to remember to use it to play different musical things. I've got PDFs open of rule books on another screen that I have to have there all the time. I've got the character sheets from Roll20 that are all open, and if I've got monsters from there, if I'm running Cypher System, frequently I have 4 or 5 character sheets that are open up, NPC sheets, that will take up all of one or more of one monitor. And that's not all of it. I can't remember the rest of them. Oh, and Discord.
The typical person out there might only have 1, maybe 2 monitors.
Probably
so
1.
They're going to start running into problems GMing.
Yeah.
They already do. I mean, Glenn has a problem with bouncing back and forth between Discord, the character sheet, and whatever else he happens to be doing.
Well, as a player too, when I tried to do it on my laptop, the screen was smaller.
Yep.
And like on Roll20, there's a certain, size to the avatars for each player. I had to minimize that to try to get as much space as possible, and then I'm hitting the negative zoom to try to zoom out so I'm not squeezed in. And then when I try to have something off to the side, like Discord,
Right.
well now the actual play area is about that big.
Yep.
On
Right.
Roll20.
So I would recommend, as a guy who's been running virtual tabletop for almost 2 years now, I would recommend that you have a regular computer, not a laptop, with at least 2 monitors.
Well,
To play, not to run, to
so
play.
I've started playing on my PC. I do have 1 monitor, but it's a big one.
Right.
So I can put a couple things side by side. It works.
Even going down to a tech recycling place and picking up a 15-inch monitor or something that you can have your character sheet on makes a huge difference in how what your gaming experience is like. If you're spending the majority of your time moving between view,
That's what I'm doing. I've got 3 things, and they do overlap. And
it
so
takes you out of the moment, right?
Yeah.
You're working instead of playing.
Or, you say, like on the virtual tabletop, you can click on something and it'll indicate where you're clicking. Like you say, over here down the hall at this point. Well, if I'm not on Roll20 at that moment, I don't see where you're clicking. So I
Right.
move over to it, but then I've missed it.
Right.
So having it open on 2 screens would be better.
Yep. And you can pick up a second screen pretty cheap, $30-40.
Of course, you need the room for the
You need the
monitor.
room for it, and the video card that can handle two
Right, and
streams.
the cable or whatever.
And the
yes.
technology know-how to be able to hook them up, because sometimes configuring 2 screens can be a little tricky. I know a lot of people who wouldn't be able to do it without some trouble at first. So, but all in all, I think the virtual tabletop can work. There's a lot of pros to it. There are a lot of cons as well. But if the group works together, I think that it becomes a much more viable solution. Now that I'm venturing farther into professional game mastering services, I don't have those kind of groups that are friends that know each other, right? So I have to get them added to Roll20. I have to get them added to Discord. I have to get them added to Sirenscape if I want them to do that. I got to make sure that they're all working, and that's per player that's going to be in that game. So Zero Session now becomes more about character building, or less about character building, and more about the technology and getting everybody added in so they can play with each other. If
you have new players on your paying site, how much time is spent just getting everyone set up?
So far, I don't have a large enough sample size to say on an average. So far, they've been savvy enough that they can sign up for Roll20 on their own. They give me their email address. They text me on Discord, so I add them to the server. I did have to go through and remove my passwords from and lockouts from my server stuff because I could not get Discord to play well with having new people. So now anybody can just come in and go into any of the chat rooms that I have. So if we've got people playing video games on one channel and we've got the Pro GM channel going, people pop in and say hi, and that's not good in a professional game.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I've
want
literally had some people pop in and start chatting with me. It's like, no, I've got a professional game going, please.
Yeah,
I'll check with
if
you
you're
later.
paying for the game, you don't want Dave's pals jumping in and saying, "Hey, how's it going?
Yeah.
Oh, you're in a game. Tell me about it."
Yep. It's like, oh, why didn't I get an invite? It's like, yep.
So, all right. So that's the status quo. What happens when COVID is over? What's the future here? Are we going to go back to in-person playing? Is that dead now?
I don't think it's going to be dead, but I do think that people are going to stick with the virtual gaming for a lot of things.
Well, we've made friends.
But,
I mean,
yeah.
I've made friends with your gamers up in Washington.
Right,
You know,
right.
Scourge, Jamie, Joe. You know,
Yeah.
Tim down in Chile. So
Scourge in Canada. Yeah.
Oh, he's in Canada.
He's in
Oh,
Canada.
okay.
Yeah.
So, you know, we got friends all over the place that we're playing with now, and I don't want that to end.
No.
They're friends now, and I like
Right.
those games. So, but you know, does that mean we're not going to get together and move pieces around anymore? Because I'll miss that.
Yeah.
Right. Well, we have so many games going right now, and we're going to be adjusting that. But we've got small groups that get together. Our Sunday games, right? Just a few of us getting together, so we get that manipulation.
I'm thankful for that.
I am too, and I want the group to come back together on Wednesday. That group should be able to show up here and game, right? Just like we did before, but now people are used to being at home in their pajamas, near their own fridge. Their families are used to being able to interact with them when they need to, right? Which they can't do when they're over here. Well, they do, but it interrupts the game substantially. Previous nightmare experiences inserted here. So I think that VTT is here to stay. I think it's going to gain and not recede. I think it's going to gain popularity.
Hopefully some of these cons will get smoothed out as time goes by. The platforms will work them out, right?
I think they'll not be noticed. It's not that they'll be smoothed out. It's that the new players coming into this are just going to be used to virtual tabletop gaming.
Yep.
And the professional GM stuff, which is a huge deal. We're going to talk about that probably in the next sequence or two. They can get together with people from all over the place, right? It's much more flexible.
Okay, so the future is going to have a mix.
A mix.
Yeah.
We'll have some gaming in person, we'll have some gaming virtual, no hybrids.
No,
No,
Brad, yes. Well,
Maybe?
don't say no.
Never say
I
never,
mean,
I guess.
What if, what if we decided we wanted a superhero game down here where we can manipulate things and whatnot, and then Amy wants to join in?
Wouldn't it be cool if we had a camera over the table?
Absolutely, and people have done that.
So,
And we can broadcast that.
from the side or something.
Yeah.
Right.
Then that would be another way to make it hybrid. Of course, the person on the other end wouldn't be able to move stuff around.
Right.
But
But that's okay. That can be dealt with.
weren't we doing something like that when we did the hybrid Halloween dungeon?
Mm-mm.
No?
No,
it was all
we talked
everything
about it
was
for a
all
moment,
virtual.
but it was
Oh,
all
okay.
virtual. Yeah, that was a nightmare. Just moving all the technology to get it in place and setting up, and the room we took up with all of our technology
Yeah.
We had
was.
cords going everywhere.
Oh yeah, it was cumbersome as all hell.
It'd be easier now.
I don't want to do it. Yeah, it would be. Yeah, and honestly, if it was a hybrid game where we only had 2 or 3 that were remote, that's okay. It's when you've got half the group that's virtual, then I can't minimize what I'm doing on my end. I have to go full Monty on my technology.
Yeah.
Pardon me.
So, the future of virtual gaming. We were talking about this earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So, what I foresee, and it's happening now, is VR chat, right? Where
Oh yeah, you were
a
talking.
friend of mine was showing me this last night, right? So, you can go into a virtual world with your Oculus, or even on the PC. You have a 3D avatar. You're in a room. You're moving around in the room, right?
Yeah.
You're picking things up. You're manipulating them. You're playing music using a virtual iPad, right? It shows on a screen that's virtual in the virtual room, right? And you have other 3D
expression I
avatars
had,
from
too.
other players from all over the world gathered together in the same room, interacting with things on their own.
Some of them are rolling dice on tables.
Yeah, there's virtual
Huh.
tabletop gaming, like consider like Monopoly or something,
Yeah.
right? So everyone is gathered around a virtual Monopoly board with their 3D characters, avatars, moving pieces around, rolling dice. You're all seeing the same thing as if you were in a real room, right? And some of these virtual environments are getting more and more realistic. Now imagine if role-play gaming were like that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So each of us would have a 3D avatar. Doesn't even need to look human. You could be a robot,
Right.
and or an elf, or you could look like
Your
your
character.
character.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you could actually be sitting around a 3D table, moving 3D miniatures, rolling dice. Right. I see that as the future.
Could be.
It very well could be.
Rather than Roll20, which is 2D,
Right.
right? I totally see this as the future of role-play gaming.
It will be expensive because there will have to be companies that set up the servers to handle bandwidth. There's going to be people who are going to design the table, the figures, the rule interaction, your avatars, the total environment around there, all the little pieces that go with this. There's going to be companies that are going to have to solely do this, which means they're going to be doing it on a pay platform. So there's going to be a price point to get into it. And now you're going to have, you're competing with the Joneses, right? You got, those poor gamers that sit around a table and have to use paper and pencil. Let's see how the other half lives.
Maybe it'll go full circle, and after they do that, they're like, we really should go do this in paper in person.
Yeah, that's after they either gain 600 pounds or lose 600 pounds, because they're either eating or starving themselves, being in the
have a
virtual
virtual
environment all day. Yeah. It's the world of tomorrow
I
today.
think it's pretty cool. It's worth doing, but
Yeah.
I think it's going to cost money, and then of course there's other money streams. There will be people that you could pay to make. Like my friend that was showing me this was, she's having a custom-made 3D avatar,
Oh.
right? She's paying someone to make that so that she can bring it into the VR chat to use. Now imagine if you're virtual gaming and you have an elf, you could pay someone to make an elf that matches your character's characteristics,
Yeah.
and then you would, but that's another little income stream.
Oh yeah.
It's like,
We think it's expensive now buying stuff on the Roll20 marketplace every couple of days. You know, that's going to cost some serious bank to have those things made.
honestly, nothing can replace just paper and pencil
Yep.
sitting around a table.
Yep.
You know, all the best times. Honestly, I
You
think
get to
that's
cele-
where it goes all the way around. I think this is still best.
Think about what happens every year that we're playing around the table. I celebrate everyone's birthday, right? You have cake, you have ice cream, you have whatever. We all sing happy birthday to each other. When Christmas comes around, everyone's giving them little gaming presents, stuff. You don't get that with virtual gaming, right?
Not as easily.
Not well.
You can
You can-
PayPal people money.
Oh,
you
sure,
can-
but that's
Well-
nothing compared to sitting around and saying, "I got new dice, yay!"
We got,
You know.
have you got the dice to Haley yet?
No.
How long ago
See,
was that?
because of virtual gaming, she has not got the prize that she won in the Halloween dungeon.
8
So
months ago.
Previous
8 months
Halloween.
ago, yes. So, yeah, I still am going to prefer tabletop as opposed to virtual tabletop. All in all, I think it's better.
You can pass around books and stuff.
Oh,
You
yeah,
have to
yeah.
go-
It's cheaper.
Yeah,
It's much cheaper.
definitely.
Let me tell you, when I got into professional game mastering and realized that if I want to be competitive, I have to run D&D, I just dropped $300, and on physical books, virtual campaigns, everything else. That was spendy. Or if it was tabletop stuff, I just have $100 in the books and call it good.
You're like, here, look at page 100 of this book.
Yep.
You hand it over. Right?
Like Roll20, if we're going to play a different game system, and we need to be able to have, because it has the ability to put virtual books that you buy in a compendium, and then the characters, all the players have access to that book from there. You can have like up to 5 separate compendiums if you're a pro user. And that's the way you share books. And it's shareable, it's searchable, it's a decent system, but you have to buy it. You're going to run Cthulhu. We went out and bought the basic
bought
Cthulhu
some more
book,
the other
and you
day.
just bought some more.
the Cults of Cthulhu.
Oh,
right?
yeah,
It's like
nice.
22 books on drive-through RPG.
Oh, yeah,
so,
yeah. Yeah, so you got the PDFs for
I
it.
got them. Yeah.
But now, if you're sitting here at the game table, here's where it flips.
Now I'll need
Now
a
you have to have your
laptop to
laptop.
access the PDFs that I bought.
I
Unless
do
print
that
the
with a
whole
lot
thing.
of them. I mean, I have over 210 role-playing systems. That's just physical. If you want to add in PDFs, I've got closer to 300
Jeez.
role-playing systems. But then you got to have the technology to read the PDFs. Benefit of PDFs, they're searchable.
Yeah.
So that saved my bacon many times. 'Cause,
Although how many times have we said go to page 100? What is that, the PDF page, or is the page printed at the bottom of the PDF?
I've trained you monkeys now. You guys know to add 2 pages or 3 pages to it. And I've trained myself to tell them, okay, I got to compute this. I'm looking in here, go to 3 pages farther. I've trained myself to start talking in that.
I wish people who made these books would number the pages the same as the PDF pages somehow. Right? Don't start with Roman numeral pages.
One,
and
start
then
with
go
the
down
title
the
page.
Just start
Yeah.
with number 1 at the first page.
Yep. That would be good.
I know it's doable.
And
It's just not traditional for print publishing.
maybe we should have one of our episodes on the economy of gaming. Because game companies are charging the same amount for a physical book as they do for their PDF.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that some other time, and the benefits and pros and cons of that. But is there anything else?
I think
Virtual versus.
I mean, did
No,
we-
I
did
think
we-
that covers it.
Did we beat this subject to death?
Well, and if anyone has any comments, right?
Right? Yeah. You got anything?
Leave some comments for us if you
Yep.
think we missed anything.
Yeah, we'd happy to answer any questions. Just go to rollthedice.org and
ROLE.
the dice, yes, and sign up. Either sign up for a newsletter or send an email directly to me. We'll be happy to answer any of your questions. So, thank you, and we'll see you next episode.